On today's podcast, we welcome producer and certified Dolby Atmos mixer, Alex Solano from Alex Pro Mix. We discuss the growing role that Dolby Atmos and immersive audio overall is having in modern recording today, as well as what hardware and software you need to use it, as well as what the challenges are for it to become far more integrated into various audio uses. You don't want to miss it. Insiders, are you ready?
Welcome to MUBUTV's Music Business Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage artists and music business professionals who are dedicated to having a successful career in the new music industry. Here are your hosts, Rich Ezra and Eric Knight. Welcome back, Insiders, to another episode of the MUBUTV Music Business Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage your music career. On today's episode, we welcome producer and certified Dolby Atmos mixer, Alex Solano from Alex Pro Mix. We discuss Dolby Atmos mixing, immersive audio overall, and its growing role in professional audio today. You don't want to miss it. But first, a word from our sponsor. Hey, Insiders, are you looking to take your music career to the next level? Then you need to know about the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source, serving the music business community for over 28 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Monthly, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in print, PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit them now at musicregistry.com and receive a 10% discount by using coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Welcome back, Insiders. Today's featured guest is with Alex Solano. Alex is with a company called Alex Pro Mix. He is a producer and a Dolby Atmos mixer. This was an interesting interview, Eric. I thought, because we're moving into a new era technologically. I thought one of the most interesting things that he talked about the usage of Dolby Atmos is why artists and producers need to be using it and need to be understanding what it is and how it can apply to their work.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, the technology is moving so forward. I mean, we're going from 4K TVs to 8K TVs. Now they got them at 12. I mean, the technology has just gotten so crazy. But it's amazing because, Dolby Atmos, I guess, really started out for film, where you go into a movie theater and you're experiencing that immersive audio coming from like 12 to 15 speakers, where you can hear, as he explained in the video, the helicopters flying overhead, and you have the symphony behind you with the score,
right,
and you have the dialogue in front of you, and yada yada. And that, I think, is something that's going to be changing the game, as he talked about in this episode. Also, one of the other things that I think is that Dolby Atmos is here, and it's here to stay, and is becoming the standard.
Absolutely, it's the next evolution in surround sound. I believe he even says that because like what you were just talking about at the theaters, that's the surround element, but this is the next evolution. And he gets into that, and he also gets into, what kinds of workstations and other things that you need to be aware of.
And with that, Insiders, sit back, relax, and enjoy our featured conversation with Alex Solano.
Alex, welcome.
Great seeing you guys.
Alex, when in your life did you know that the music business was going to be your professional career path?
One thing is that I've always loved music. My earliest memory of a kid, like maybe being like 9 years old, was wearing headphones using a Walkman. So I've always loved music, and I always imagined myself like performing and doing those things. And I think it was at the age of 12 when my brother brought home an electric guitar that I started just figuring out how it works, learning my favorite songs on the radio, mimicking the things that I heard. And that just completely opened up the world of music creation, music writing, and technology for me. So I would say at as early as 12 years old, I knew that music is what I wanted to do all my life.
Wow. That's fantastic that you had it that early in your life. Great.
Amazing, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you again, Alex, as always. I wanted to ask you, what is Dolby Atmos for our audience of listeners, and why is it so significant, or such a significant improvement over stereo mixing?
Absolutely. So to understand Dolby Atmos, you really have to look at the history of recorded music. And for that, if you look back at the 1950s and 1960s, when you would record a band ensemble, a jazz band, or an orchestra, you had multiple mics and everything got condensed down into a single channel called mono. Okay. And it was in the 1960s when engineers like Bruce Swedien, who's the engineer who recorded Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller, who was really an advocate of updating the technology from mono to stereo. And that music industry adopted to that new technology called stereo, and then in music, and then it eventually opened up in theater and post-production and film. And so we've been living with stereo since the 1960s. And so you've seen this waves of technology from analog to digital, from CDs to streaming. And now we're living in an era where surround sound is now accessible to anyone that has headphones. And so this technology of Dolby Atmos is not just so much an idea or something that's only relevant to film and post-production, but now that it's made available to music mixing and music creators and producers via Apple, via Tidal, via Amazon, it just opens up a world of opportunities to think about music arrangement differently and to mix music in a way that immerses the audience and the listener.
Interesting. I'm curious, in listening to your response on, stereo and, working in studios, what hardware or software do you need to work in Dolby Atmos?
Absolutely. So, when I got into Dolby Atmos in 2021, it was really expensive. Number one, you needed like different networks of audio working together and amps and things like that. But ever since then, the technology has made it more accessible. For example, if you use Apple Logic, it's already built into the software. All you got to do is you need to plug in a pair of headphones, check on the option in the software, and you can start learning how to mix an Atmos. So, I mean, it's really, really accessible. But as far as my studio, I use Pro Tools Ultimate. I use Avid hardware. I use what's called Dante amps, and it's just a way of sending audio via network for my speakers. But the thing about Atmos is that if you really want to do it right and you really want to experience it correctly inside of a room, you need to have at minimum 12 speakers. And so that kind of differentiates, a bedroom producer working on headphones, making beats, publishing their music on SoundCloud from somebody that's experienced in the field and mixing in an immersive room of 12 speakers, because there's a financial cost there and an investment,
And let me ask you were touching on it earlier. What is its role in film mixing? Because I know that's obviously where it was originally kind of like, I think, started for. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So in film mixing, Dolby Atmos was introduced as kind of like the evolution of surround mixing. And that's been around in film for over 10 years. So when you go watch The Avengers or your favorite Marvel movie, you have speakers around you, Jurassic Park, any one of those like major films, like there's speakers above you, there's speakers around you. And the music mixer can now place you in the middle of the room, the listener, and put sounds all around you, put the dialogue in front of you, put the orchestra behind you, put helicopter sounds above you, because there's speakers there that can reproduce that sound. So in music, now we've adopted that same technology that's proven, that's been around for over 10 years. And now we are all learning how to mix music in this new format, which is crazy because it's very wild, wild west. And what I mean by that is that in post-production, you mix a film at a soundstage with the expectation that an audience is going to sit in that soundstage and have that same experience with the speakers. But in music, you don't know how music lovers are going to listen to music. They can be listening on sound bars. In the future, cars are going to be enabled to have multiple speakers and play music. Dolby Atmos mix music in car audio, and that's actually taking place right now. But most consumers are going to experience music on headphones, and that technology is called spatial audio, or it's called binaural. So what that means is that I can sit in my room with 12 speakers, mix a song, and that song is going to be future-proofed as more devices become Atmos enabled. But even now, anyone with headphones and earbuds can experience that Dolby mix on headphones.
Alex, as a Dolby Atmos mixer, why do you feel that it's really important for artists and producers to be aware of it today?
It's one of those things that when you look at the history of recorded technology, when there was that switch from mono to stereo, those engineers who only knew how to work in mono became irrelevant. And even, by coming to music industry events and hearing from the professionals, from the majors, that by 2024, all music formats that are supported in Dolby Atmos is what's going to be the standard to convert new music and back catalog music into Dolby Atmos. Otherwise, the music streaming services are not going to support it. And I'm experiencing that right now. Like some of my clients are labels, publishers, and distributors. They have a song They pitch it to Apple. Apple says, "Where's the spatial audio?" They're like, "What's spatial audio?" They're like, "Well, go find an engineer." They hire me. I give them the spatial audio, and now they can pitch it to Apple and get playlisted on Apple spatial playlists and things like that. So, I mean, even now, there's like a demand from the streaming services, in particular with Apple. If you want to get editorial playlisting, you need to have that Dolby Atmos master. Otherwise, you can't play in the game.
So it's almost like when TV went from analog to digital, that required by a certain year all those networks go to digital. It's the same kind of thing that you're experiencing now with Atmos.
Yep.
Interesting.
Wow. No, that is fascinating. I mean, and you think like the whole history of recorded music, that's a lot to convert.
It's a lot to convert, yeah. And so, it could be two things. It could be that at some point, software companies design AI software to do that. But right now, where we are, it's like Apple is not accepting, AI converted Dolby Atmos mixes. It has to be done by an engineer. You have to have the original stems. And to be honest with you, from the creative standpoint, no artist who spent that much of an investment in making their music sound great in stereo just wants to put it through some algorithm and, create a fake pseudo stereo experience. I mean, they want it to be remastered correctly.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah. And before I get into my next question, Alex, how long does it take to do a mix for just a song? Let's just say any song. How long does that take you?
Oh, it can take, there's two parts. There's a stereo mix, which takes a number of days, because when a song is produced and recorded and arranged, you still have to go through and fix all the pops and clicks in the vocals. You have to manually tune the vocals. You have to mix the song. You have to send it to the producer and the artist. They have to approve it. If they want revisions, you have to go back and forth. So that process of mixing just takes a number of days at any level. Once the mix is completed in stereo, that mix is sent off to a stereo mastering engineer, okay? And that's the first file that you're going to publish. But once that mix is approved, you send the mixed stems to a Atmos or immersive engineer like myself, and then I would create a new mix or a new master from those mixed stems, which is called the Dolby Atmos master.
So it's the final mix stems that they're sending to you, and that's what you're taking and
Correct.
creating the Atmos mix.
Correct, which for me doesn't take me much for then like a couple of hours, because I'm not worried about, okay, I wonder what the time delay on the reverb
It's already
should be.
there. It's already there. Yeah,
all the production
exactly.
decisions are there. It's just a matter of like separating them into room, creating an awesome immersive experience, and then making decisions as to, location, panning, volume, tone. And then if compelled to, I will add my own effects on top of that will enhance even the mix even further.
To make it even that more spatial immersive.
Correct.
You talked about it earlier, and I was just wondering, besides Apple Logic, what other digital audio workstations can you use with Dolby Atmos? Is it just exclusively Apple
No, so you
Logic?
can use Pro Tools, you can use Nuendo, has a built-in Apple Logic, and there are other software companies that I can't mention that are already developing native support for Dolby Atmos. Yeah.
Can you talk about the benefits or why consumers should care about Dolby Atmos? You talked about with stereo, so why should consumers?
So you got to think about the next generation, right? You got to think about the pre-teens generation, which are gamers. They're able to experience what's called virtual reality, gaming, immersive reality, and part of that is the immersive audio experience as well. And so we're really accommodating this technology for young people, and for artists to be able to future-proof their music for the next generation. It's important to adopt this new technology. So that's what it means for like the next generation. For current audiophiles, you get a higher resolution audio because it's no longer MP3. This is a 48 kilohertz 24-bit file. This is like lossless audio, and it's just a more fidelity. The other part about that is that in stereo, you can make your mix as loud as you want. You can crush the dynamics to where you don't even hear the instruments anymore except for the drums and the vocals. But in Atmos, you have to stick to a new loudness requirement, which basically means you are compelled to reintroduce dynamics to the music again. So for music creators and for artists, they can like now not have to compromise their mixes to being squashed down for the sake of loudness. Now they can allow the low end and the bass to breathe in the mix. And like when you hear that in a room, it's just such an awesome experience.
Hey, Insiders, we hope that you've been enjoying our featured interview. Stay tuned because we've got so much more value coming your way. But before we dive back in, a word from our sponsor. So, hey, Rich, Tell me a little bit about the Music Business Registry.
Well, what we are, Music Business Registry is the leading contact directory. We publish all of the most current, accurate, and up-to-date contact information for the music industry. We do directories for A&R. We do directories for music publishers. We do directories for film and television music. We do directories of artist managers, and we do directories of music attorneys. And we also sell other publications too, like the Indie Bible series, the YouTube Bible series, the Indie Spotify Bible series, and other things as well. That's what we're about.
So if I wanted to find out, let's say, the music supervisor for American Horror Story, I can kind of go into the Film and TV monthly and find the information that I need there?
Well, we don't list specific shows. If you know who the music supervisor is, and you can find that out on IMDb, then you can find their contact information. And we have that in our Film and Television Music Monthly. Absolutely, yes.
That's great. And I hear that we have a discount right now. If you go to musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your first order.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, we offer that to all of the MUBUTV insiders.
So insiders, check out musicregistry.com and use MUBUTV10 as your coupon code. What are the challenges you see for it becoming more and more integrated into various audio uses? Do you see any of those challenges?
It'll take time, but I think especially within the music. So in video, that's in video, in film and TV, Dolby Atmos is kind of synonymous. Like that's just you accept it because it's been around for a while. Because it's new in music, it'll take some time, but larger than that, the issue of spatial audio, immersive audio, again, that's being adopted into other technologies like gaming. And so I just think that once the music industry catches up to it and adopts it, then it's just going to be like anything else. It's just going to be something that's very common.
How long did it take you to become proficient in Dolby Atmos and to become certified?
So those are two separate things. So
okay.
The proficiency aspect, it took me a while. You know, even after I had my speakers set up and the room calibrated, I had to relearn how to mix music.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because in stereo, you can have a song recorded with arrangement of like drums, keys, backing vocals, pads, guitars. Okay, you can have all that. You run the mix through a master channel, which might have an EQ to make everything bright, and then you might have a limiter to kind of squeeze the transients and make everything loud. Okay, and your mix is done. In Dolby Atmos, there is no master channel. There is no mix bus. So you have to rethink of how you're going to shape and glue the song, arrangement, and mix together. And so a lot of engineers who are getting into Atmos are having a really hard time, even if they have a ton of experience on how to create that glue without the tools that they're used to using in stereo. So for me, it took me a good 3 to 4 months of just like going, trying, listening. And you know what? Because I was one of the early adopters in 2021, there wasn't a lot of videos on YouTube, which kind of segues to my other part, which is like, that's why I am creating educational video on YouTube, because number one, there isn't any. And secondly, sharing my experience to other people who are going to learn how to do that now or in 5 years from now. Yeah. As far as the certification of Dolby, so I had a Dolby engineer tune my room. Okay. And then Dolby connected me through the labels to be certified with Universal Music and also with Warner Music. So I'm on their vendor list. I'm on their approved Dolby Atmos mixer list, which basically means that any producer, any artist, any engineer that wants to convert their music into Atmos, I'm already certified and signed on with Universal and Warner.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And I guess you need to be certified or whatever. You can't just like put an AI thing on it. You need an actual person to really do this work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alex, are there any books or films that have really resonated with you, professionally speaking, that you could recommend to our audience?
Well, yeah, I have to pull from my own experience and recommend Bruce Swedien, Make My Music. That's a book that really changed my life in the terms of like understanding more than the technical aspect of music. You know, in 2023, around that time, 2002, 2003, about 20 years ago, I went to a 2-week workshop with Bruce Swedien, who's Michael Jackson's engineer at Cal State Fresno. And I learned so much. I mean, it was so amazing. And in that time, he actually published a book called Make My Music. And when I read that book today, like it draws on a lot of memories, but also it makes things more, like I understand things that he was talking about 20 years ago a lot more clearer now, you know, because of experience and doing it over a period of time. But in that book, there's a particular section in that book that he calls binaural cocktail, okay? And this is funny. This was written 20 years ago. And I wish I had the copy in front of me. But basically, he says something like, surround technology is great experience for movies and for music, but who is going to be hanging out at binaural wearing headphones, right? Well, we're living in a generation now where every young person is wearing earbuds or AirPods and experiencing music in that way. So in one sense, what he, predicted came true, because now everybody experiences music not by listening, but not by going in front of a TV, not by sitting in front of speakers, but by putting on earbuds. And the fact that you can experience that spatial audio on earbuds, it's like, okay, it makes it accessible for anyone. But that book is by Bruce Sweeney. It's called Make My Music.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's interesting. I went to the reopening of the Enterprise on Magnolia, which is this incredible, it's a complex, it's like a compound complex. And they have a special Dolby Atmos theater, where they like showed Dolby Atmos mixes. They would do like a whole section of the movie, and to experience that in a theater that was tuned with all, I was 12 or 15 speakers, was astonishing. To actually sit, it's a small theater, you like maybe holds 10, 15 people, but man, and I would think that was a far different experience than just having it in headphones.
Absolutely. In fact, my first demo at a Dolby music studio was with a colleague of mine. His name is Ben. He actually works for Dolby, and this was around 2021. And he took me to a Dolby certified studio. And in that time, you couldn't really stream music from Apple Music on speakers. Now you can. But he played the final mix of Elton John, Rocket Man. And man, it was just like when those acoustic guitars come in and they're just like panned over here on the side speakers, it was like, wow, And then you have the things flying over your head, like the slide guitars and things like that. But yeah, hearing it on speakers is like really when you get it. That's when it clicks on the brain,
Wow. So they had redone the original 2-inch master. They had redone the whole thing from those.
Greg Penny took the original files and
Yeah.
remixed that was, I believe, that song, Rocket Man, was the first actual music project that was like experimented with in Dolby Atmos and actually released as an official immersive mix.
Wow. Yeah, and that's one of his early. Rocket Man was like 71, 72, somewhere in that, long before he became a massive, massive artist. That's amazing. That's amazing. Alex, what advice can you offer our listeners who are wanting to pursue a career as a recording engineer today?
You know what? The opportunities are endless. But in that, I say that you have to think beyond just becoming a recording engineer. Okay. So, me personally, I didn't grow up in the ranks of assisting in a studio and being an assistant engineer and then becoming a recording engineer. Like my generation, like we were able to learn music recording on a laptop with headphones. And I believe anyone that has access to a computer and software can follow the same steps. But now you have to be more than a recording engineer. You have to think of yourself as a brand. Okay. You have to think of yourself as a content creator. You have to think of yourself as, how do I develop my following? So even if I'm not an artist, I'm thinking about, okay, I have a brand. I have a particular thing that I want, a service that I want to deliver to people. Well, how do I just make myself discoverable, right? Well, you have to use social media. Okay. How else can I make myself discoverable? Well, I can produce content on YouTube. Okay. And how do I convert those people that are watching me on YouTube to actual clients? Okay. Well, I have to have a mailing list. So you kind of have to think of yourself as an entrepreneur or solopreneur is another way that people say it, of I'm not just a recording engineer, but I'm actually a brand and I'm a service. So I have to have a way of attracting people. I have to create content that appeals to people's needs, to be able to attract them. And then I have to be able to sell them something, whether that's a course, whether that's virtual coaching sessions, or whether that's a service. And so I think for a lot of young people, they have to start thinking of that way of being holistic and not just, I want to be a good engineer, because being a good engineer, well, good luck with that, because there's so many people that can do that really well. And unfortunately, they can't make a sustainable living just doing that alone. So you have to look at the whole aspect of almost being a business. Really, that's what I'm talking about, like being business minded in what you do so that you can do what you love for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to you. You're speaking about the fact that the skill set of recording engineer, let's say, is the baseline. And you have to start there. That's the given. You're going to be a great engineer. But now if you want to get the work, if you want to make this your career, you have to do what you're saying. You have to build it as a business. You have to attract the people. You have to attract, and either that's a course or something. So that's interesting hearing it. It's like it's kind of like what artists needed to do. Artists in the past needed to be great writers, great performers, good singers. Now they also have to know how to market. And if they don't, especially at the beginning stages of their career, no one's going to do that for them.
Right. And, you know, I heard all my life, I think I've just watched webinars and listened to other pro engineers. And Michael Brower, he said something like, I'm not going to sit around waiting for somebody to call me. In other words, I'm going to find the act. I'm going to present it to the label. I'm going to offer something. Like, you have to do something. You can't just sit around passively waiting for something to happen. You have to do something, you know, and sometimes that's a trial and error. And to be honest with you, that's probably like, especially in the music industry, and as technology changes, you have to try and fail many, many, many times in order to find what's your niche and like who's your audience and to get discovered. And then also being like just business minded. Like, I'll give you an example. So I knew that African music, Nigerian music was gaining traction, and it is, and it's amazing. So I was hired by an independent artist, and African music. And so after doing his Dolby Atmos, he connected me with another guy in Nigeria who's a label owner for one artist. So I did his mixes. And then after that, he connected me with somebody else. So as I'm doing my research as to like, who are these guys and what companies do they represent, I discovered the name of a company called Matt Solutions, and I found out who the owner was. So I start asking these other guys, and this is how you utilize your network. Like, hey, do you know this person right here, the CEO? And he's like, oh yeah, we do. He's like, give me his number. No response. 2 days later, give me his number. He's like, here's his number. Okay. I hit him up on WhatsApp. Hey, I'm Alex, This is what I do. I'd love to talk with you. You know, 2 days later, no response. Remind him again. Hey, I'm Alex, I'd love to get on a call with you. He finally responds. We talk, and I'm asking him, great, are you already publishing your music in Dolby Atmos? He's like, yeah, we have an engineer. Okay. So then I think, well, what else can I say? Hey, are you happy with your rates? What business owner is going to say they're happy with their rates, right? So he's like, well, no, well, we could do better. It's like, all right, well, let me help you with that, you know? And so one project turned into two into three. And then eventually we came up with an agreement where I was going to give him a special rate to be his exclusive Dolby mixer for everything that he produces and publishes.
Wow.
And that's taking place right now. And that's just opened up a door of just global, you know, international music that I would have no other way have been able to have access to, you know? And so it's those things where like you have to go get it. You have to be smart about it. You have to try. If you get rejected, it's okay. You have to try something else. Maybe you're not going to be the client for this person, but for somebody else you will, you know? And so it's kind of like that. And, you know, we're all learning how to adopt to this new world together of social media and international and new technologies and music distribution. So it's like, in some sense, like I just position myself as somebody that can help somebody else, because at the end of the day, this business owner, this label owner, they don't want to have to worry about tech specs and file organization. It's like, no, I want to do that job for them and make their life easier. So if I can position myself as a service provider of anything and make their life easier, like that's a win-win.
And Alex, flipping that question around that Rich had asked you earlier, what advice can you offer our listeners who are wanting to pursue a career as a recording artist? What would you tell them?
For an artist?
Yes.
Yeah.
For an artist.
I would say learn everything, and then whatever you're not good at, bring somebody else in to fill. Build a team. Okay. Some artists are really good at production, maybe not so good at mixing. Build a team. Some artists are good at production and mixing, but maybe not designing graphics for their social media. Build a team. I think the core thing behind this is to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and be able to build a team to help you with that.
Alex, how do people get in touch with you? How do people reach you? Is it through your website or through other means? How do they do that?
Absolutely. So everything funnels to alexpromix.com. And that's the same name that I use for Instagram, for YouTube, but everything funnels back to my website, alexpromix.com.
Wonderful. Alex, we can't thank you enough for doing this. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Wow. You know, this was a really interesting interview, Eric. And you know why? Yeah. Because I love having conversations on areas that I'm not that versed in. I mean, technology is something that, you know, I'm not versed in. And yet this is an area that I think our listeners really do need to be versed in, because it's the future. It's the next evolution in terms of recording and what they're going to be utilizing in their studios and in their recordings of the music that they're making.
And I think it's also important because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is literally our first mixer that we've had on the show.
That's absolutely right.
So, it's something that I'm sure it's going to appeal to, most, if not all of our audience. As we said at the top of the show, I believe that Dolby Atmos is obviously here to stay and is becoming the new standard, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Alex in the interview mentioned that record labels, that they're going to that standard now. And if you don't have those kind of mixes coming, your music is not going to be put out there.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And you've got record companies and people like Alex who are completely, booked solid doing these mixes of, classic albums. I was just reading the other day that that classic album Moondance by Van Morrison has just been re-released with a Dolby Atmos mix to it. So yeah, they're going back and doing a lot of their catalog. Apple, the streaming service, is going to be now providing a whole system whereby you can stream your music in Dolby Atmos, which is a unique feature on streaming. No other streaming service that I'm aware of is offering that kind of capability now.
Yeah, and one of the things that I loved was he talked about the whole history of how, mono started and then it went to stereo, and how a lot of those people that were doing recordings in mono were basically out of business. I'm sure some of those picked up that teaching ability later to do stereo mixes, but it was really interesting that, and also I felt, how long did it take him to become a proficient, mixer in Dolby Atmos and to become certified, which is, a big thing with this whole new technology.
Oh, absolutely. You can't be doing that unless you're certified by Dolby. It's you have to have the certification from them in the proper ways to do it. So it's not the wild west out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, very, very much so. And as you said, I think that the exciting part about an interview like this is that it gives us a glimpse not only into immersive audio and Dolby Atmos, but also gives us a glimpse into what the future of actual recording is going to be.
Hey, Insiders, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate it. To get show notes, links, and everything that was mentioned during this interview, head on over to our official website at MUBUTV.com/podcast/show notes. If you're enjoying the content and what we're doing here on the show, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts from. And don't forget to rate and review our show at iTunes. 5-star reviews are always welcome and help to ensure that our podcast stands out on the top-rated and new and noteworthy charts on iTunes and our space. You can also find us at social media at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all ending with the handle MUBUTV, which is spelled MUBUTV. Don't forget to catch our flagship show, the MUBUTV Music Business Insider video series, airing every week on YouTube at youtube.com/MUBUTV. This show was produced and created by Rich Ezra and Eric Knight. Theme music by Disciples of Babylon, and be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the MUBUTV Music Business Insider Podcast.